I'd like to introduce you to Manuel Zapf. He is going to be teaching us how to publish and secure your containers instantly using Traefik Hub.
All right, thank you, Tiffany. Hi everyone, as Tiffany already mentioned, my name is Manuel Zapf. I'm the product manager on Traefik Labs, and I'm quite excited to take you on that quick journey today about how we actually get our containers published to the World Wide Web quickly and secure. But before we actually get down to it, let's take a first look at, or a quick look, better to say, at the agenda. I first want to walk you through a piece of history, trying to figure out where we are and why we are here. Then trying to answer the question why networking is actually so goddamn hard in certain circumstances. What it actually takes to just publishing a service, because I think most of us just want to have it working. I want to show you how Traefik Hub can actually help in that matter, and then like showing you that it really works. So like I'm not just building dream castles, but rather showing you something that this is actually all right. Okay, let's start with an actual look on the history. I think we all started to be on the same journey a couple of years ago, which meant that we all started to adopt microservices. And with the rise of adoption of microservices, challenges linked to it actually started to skyrocket. Like we all know containers, right? Containers changed the world, and they did so for a good cause. But at the same time, they required special solutions for a lot of topics that previously with more like legacy-based applications were already solved. If we take a look at what it actually is that microservices were promised to be like the holy glory, right? Like everything is going to be all right. It's just the simplest thing to do, and there's like literally nothing that could ever go wrong. But I think most of us, if not all, faced the actual reality, right? Like as soon as if you start adopting the journey and looking into microservices, deploying microservices, and all of that, probably the first or amongst the first question that actually started rising up pretty soon is, where is actually my service, right? Like on which cluster, in case you're running with different clusters, or on which node, or I don't know, there's like plenty of questions. And this was a challenge which basically got more advanced by adopting containers, because there was that just more of that, right? And how we solved, or how we helped solving that in the past, is we kind of introduced Traefik Proxy, which I think most of you which most of you know. It's the famous reverse proxy. Back in the day, it was the first of the kind that actually like started to talk to the infrastructure the containers are running on. Let it be just a Docker or Kubernetes, it doesn't really matter for that stake, but it contacted the orchestrator. It actually fetched the information out of the orchestrator, and this resulted in automatic reconfiguration of the proxy. So one of the challenges that before was really hard to do with containers is containers change the IP addresses, the endpoints, all of that, and you had to manually reconfigure the reverse proxy. And with Traefik introduced back then, this was just done. So one of the challenges which came with containers was solved, right? Like when before you had to manually edit all the configuration files and all of that all and over again. This was solved, and it did good, and it still does good up until that point. But actually, if we are honest to ourselves, let's say, that's only part of the game, because if we really look into it, just publishing a service which is running on a cluster through the reverse proxy is only half of the game, because you somehow still need to make sure that the requests from your user are actually still reaching up to the point of the cluster, right? Where then Traefik proxy could sit and proxy the request. And if we look at what like network wise and technically is still linked to it, like you need DNS names, you might think about TLS for encrypting the connections. If you're running it from a local environment, maybe let it be your Raspberry Pi, your K3S, I don't know. You might even have to think about network address translation, port forwarding, all these bits and pieces, right? If you're running in like cloud-based offerings, you will, for example, probably also provision external load balancers, which sit in front of Traefik proxy just to expose the actual proxy. So while having Traefik proxy in that circumstance is great and it already helps quite a lot, it's only part of the game. And if we look at the journey, it will kind of get obvious why it is only part of the game. So you deploy your service on a given cluster, you choose the orchestrator you want to choose, it's fine. Then the service, let's say the container is running, but then you need to configure it, right? Like you need to configure TLS. If you want to have access control, you need to configure access control. And it just starts going down the chain. And then when you eventually have configured your service with all your like networking related bits and pieces, then you still have to hook up a domain. You might have to eventually configure NAT in case of Raspberry Pis or whatever. And then yeah, you have spent really some time to actually be able to just publish one service. And then if we come back to the adoption of microservices, that there are more and more containers all around the world and all of that, that amount of work is just like multiplying itself over and over and over. So with that being said, if I just want to publish my service, that becomes kind of hard and kind of like a lot of work relatively quick. There's so much things you need to worry about or care about in case you're not worrying, but still that it just becomes a mess. And we at Traefik Labs, I mean, we are developers by heart as well, right? And we were facing the same issues because like even us, we also want to expose and publish services on the edge securely and quickly for a variety of reasons. Let it be because we run it in CI pipelines, or we just want to expose some services to the outside world or whatever. But we always had to redo all of that bits and pieces to actually get the connection to the proxy, because starting at the proxy, everything was solved. And what we did, because we were tired of doing all that manual and tedious work over and over again, we started to work on a new product. And that new product is what I'm going to work with quickly is Traefik Hub. Traefik Hub is your cloud native networking platform. What it want to do, or what it actually does pretty well, and you will see that in a minute, is the platform helps publishing and secure containers instantly. It provides a gateway to services, which can be running on, like for now, Kube or Docker, for example, and actually makes them accessible really quick. How does it work? Well, if we look at the architecture, on the right, we have your infrastructure, right? As I said, it could be a Kube, it could be a Docker, pick your favorite. And then you install a Traefik Hub agent next to a Traefik proxy instance. And this Traefik proxy instance is obviously proxying for the services behind it. What we then have as like the second part of the game is our Traefik Hub platform, which is fully managed by us. What we do is we spin up a secure tunnel from the agent up to the platform, which we can use to send all the requests through, right? Meaning that for the internet, or meaning a user who wants to access a given service, the platform provides a unique DNS name. And the user uses that unique DNS name. So the request actually comes to our platform. At the level of our platform, we take the request, we pinch it through the secure tunnel down to the agent running on the cluster where we know the service is located, and then proxy the request to the actual service. What does this mean in reality, and why is this architecture quite great for that purpose? Well, it makes it possible to provide a variety of features. So the first we call is the one-click service publication. So no more messing around with like ingress resources or NAT, DNS names, whatever. You just click and you're going to see it working. We have, as I already explained, the secure tunnels. So no matter from where your cluster is currently located, we're going to make sure it's connected well to the outside world. We provide automated certificate management, meaning TLS by default, right? So every service you're going to be publishing through Traefik Hub will have TLS enabled immediately. So there is no way around. We provide flexible access control. So in case you're publishing more sensitive services, you can protect them through the UI quickly in order to like strip down access and make it only sure that the people you want to have access to are actually able to access the service. And last but not least, Traefik Hub provides a centralized multi-cluster dashboard, meaning that all the agents that you will have installed around on all the different clusters and all of that, you will always keep an eye on what's going on and how are the services in itself network-wise behaving in terms of like some basic metrics, for example. All right, let's get the demo going. What I currently have is I am connected to a Raspberry Pi, which is just in my basement, right? And what I want to do is I want to deploy an application on that Raspberry Pi because I want to test how things are going.
I'm so sorry, Manuel. Do you think you could make it just a little bit bigger?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Even that or bigger?
I believe that should be okay, but if someone comments that they need it bigger, I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. I see that there is an issue with my namespace, which is unfortunate, let's say. So let's try to delete the namespace. Whatever was the issue, but we'll figure it out. Well, actually, we're gonna fix it a bit differently. I just gonna change my namespace to a different namespace, so I don't need to wait and figure out why that thing doesn't want to spawn correctly. So here we are with a new namespace, meaning if I now deploy my app, it should be fine. So I have now my app deployed, right? That is okay. It's running on my cube. And when I want to look into it, as currently, I would just start. I would just start a local port forward. And I mistyped my name. I'm sorry. There we go. So meaning when I actually go and hit localhost 100, I can see my app I have just deployed, right? This is just a simple testing app, basically. I can vote for a given color. Let's say I'm gonna choose green because why not? And it's registered. But now it would be actually way more fun if I could share that with the outside world relatively quickly. And that is exactly where Traefik Hub is coming in. So if I go on hub.traefik.io, I'm immediately, because I already signed up, so I'm already logged in. All I need to do at first is to actually add an agent to my Raspberry Pi, which is sitting next to me. So I just go install my first proxy, and I just follow the on-screen instructions. So the only thing I need to do, because I've already running Traefik on my Raspberry Pi, is to actually install the Hub agent. So as you said, I did it. So now I just have to wait. But in the meantime, my cluster was already discovered by Traefik Hub, meaning the agent has already connected with the platform. And just for fun cases, I'm going to call my agent Raspberry Pi because it's running on my Raspberry Pi, but I can name it whatever I want. When I go for the agent details, I can see all services so far it has discovered. And as I want to have the voting app quickly published, I'm going to choose the voting app. And now I'm on the detail page of the voting app, and you see there's not really a lot yet done, right? Because it's not published. So let's publish it. I'm gonna click publish, and I got click, and because I don't want to configure something special, like Traefik Hub has already discovered the port it needs to use, and I don't want to provide an access control policy, all I need to do is click save and publish. Now it will wait, or now this will load for like a couple of seconds, as we already saw. And now the app is actually available on the outside world directly. And what I want to show, and to actually prove that this is really the case, I'm gonna grab the URL. I'm gonna share it with the chat so everyone is able to see it, and at the same time switch to that. So here we go. And when you click, when you go, yeah.
Well, now it looks like your screen might be too large for us to see. We can only see the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, which is fine. So if you go on that, and I shared the link with the chat, right? And when you actually start accessing the app and just vote for a color of your choice. So let's say red, for example, it's gonna start blinking. There we go. I already see people voting. So it just, by Traefik Hub, I have exposed my local Cube cluster, my local K3s cluster, which is running on my Raspberry Pi through the Traefik Hub platform, right? And now whenever you vote, it's going the exact same the exact same way. So you just the request will be going to the platform. It will then be going through down to my cluster, actually to my Raspberry Pi, and then things will just start. So, and it was never, for me personally, I believe that it was never easier to actually get a service that you have running, exposed or published to the outside world.
One moment, Manuel. Hey guys, this isn't a canned demo. You can find the link in the chat. It was shared there by both Manuel and myself. And I'm going to share it again to bring it to the bottom of the page. And we have a quick question. Is the agent running behind a firewall on your system?
It is actually, like, it is behind the firewall of my router. Yes. Like, I have my router in front, my router has the firewall, and my Raspberry Pi is behind it. I see it blimping all over my camera.
Yeah, I can see that some people have found it. I'm currently voting.
I can actually get it back if you want. So should the screen, the image should be back in within like 5 seconds or so. There we go. So going back on the camera mode, and there we are. And that is all of you guys. You're just making it blink, just like that. And you saw it was literally like no work required to get that going. All right, so we all saw it blinking. So back to the UI it is, but you can keep it blinking. It's making it fun. While you were on it, as you can see, we already got some metrics, right? So we see request times, we see response times, we see some errors in the connections and stuff. So we already have a basic set of knowledge around what is going on with my service. But that's not only all, because I mean, it's working on Cube, it's fun on Cube, right? But as I said at the beginning, we also support Docker. So let's add a Docker cluster. For the sake of that example, I'm going to use Docker Compose, because what not? I have already prepared, I have already copied this to my files. So it's exactly the same, except that I also spawn like a dummy app to actually show that this is working. So all I need to do is to copy the fresh token. So I'll be doing that one and place the new token. Save the file. Same for here. I'm going to say configuration done. So I wait for it to be discovered. So while to actually get it going, I zoom a bit in and make that one a bit better fitting. There we go. So, and you guys keep keeping it flashing. That's really fun. Docker composed up. So that is being created. So within the next couple of seconds, here we go. It has been already discovered again. So I'm going to call it compose, just so I know which agent is which. I go to the agent details. I select my who am I say publish the service. It's exactly the same, except here it also detected which Docker service network it needs to be attached to in order to actually talk with the container. So I'm going to say save and publish again. And then again, within a couple of seconds, I will have the unique DNS name, the unique DNS name provided through the platform. It usually takes, or on tops, it can take up to a minute for the service to be discovered. So I expect that this should be done pretty soon. There we go. So it is discovered. I'm gonna copy the link as well. And I hope you're gonna see it quickly. So let's hope. But as you can see, you can already see manual Docker compose. So this is exactly the same. The tunnel is spun up. It's going through the platform straight to my Docker container running in compose. And when I keep refreshing here, we see that the container is actually like outputting the true, which means there is someone going for it. So, but that's not all, because I said that we also provide access control for a service, right? So let's put access control. I'm going to say edit because I want to get access control going. I want to create a new access control policy. For the sake of that example, I'm just going to use basic auth with the name hub and the password. I know that's really secure, right? But it doesn't really matter. So you see hub and password. I save it. It's automatically selected here. So all I need to do now is republish my service, right? So it's now applying the update in terms of configuration. And then yet again, within a couple of seconds, tops up to a minute, the service will be protected by basic auth. So if I go back on it, it will prompt me with the famous basic auth prompt we all know. And it's actually fun, guys, that you are still blinking it. Like my Raspberry Pi keeps blinking and blinking and blinking. So this really works. And once I showed you the access control, I will switch camera again so that you can see it blinking. So it should actually be completed like nowish, if the demo gods are with me. There we go. So if I refresh it here, there's the prompt. So I'm going to say hub password, and I can still exit it. That is for the sake of features what I wanted to show you, because that is all what Traefik Hub focuses or offers for the current set. However, I personally think that this one, or that publishing a service to the internet quickly, was never so easy, according to me, let's say, but I'm not. Maybe you have different opinions, but I'm gonna stick with mine. Thank you for being here with me, and I'm looking forward to the questions.
Well, Manuel, when we talk about features, is using their own domain and their own certs going to be part of the current roadmap?
So about certs, we are not completely sure, because certs would require like that we actually save their certificates, right? And that could be a bit trickier, but custom domains, yes. Custom domains is currently on the roadmap and is currently being developed. So you don't have to use the unique DNS names all over.
And will SSO or OAuth be introduced?
Let's say probably. No, we are like, joking aside, we are looking into how we can support OIDC and OAuth. Yes.
Okay, so, and we're looking at like mixture of services such as Authelia and Google Auth.
Yes, like what this means is like it's a separate backend, let's say, right? So Authelia is a different OAuth backend and Google Auth is a different backend. So yeah, we are evaluating which backends should be within the first set of backends to use with OAuth.
Is Traefik Hub meant only for edge services, or can someone who's already using Traefik Proxy use Traefik Hub and a stack that looks like Traefik Stack, Portainer, and Docker Swarm?
So that's actually a good question, I think. For the current set of the open beta phase where we are in, right? We focus on providing the all-in-the-box experience, right? Like starting at the tunnel, which gets down to a service, which means that once their custom domains did land, that you have to republish, let's say, the service through Traefik Hub so it's accessible to the outside world. However, for existing stacks, it could be a good option to get support for that as well. And we are looking forward to feedback here, let's say. From the feedback we had so far, it looks like people are relatively fine in having to republish their services. However, we are quite early in the product phase, right? So opinions can change, or maybe we just don't have a full set of opinions yet. So please reach out. Please use the feedback on the upper and the down left side on the app. There's a feedback area, and provide the feedback you have, for example, around that topic, because it will help us, and very specifically me, hopefully trying to put emphasis on the most requested features so we can get them developed.
Awesome. So does Traefik Hub exist in multiple DCs to reduce latency to edge users with something like GSLB or Anycast to keep edge users close to the exposed services?
Yes. Relatively simple answer.
Can you talk about how we secure the tunnel? How is the NAT traversal handled?
The NAT traversal handled is relatively easy because because for us the agent spins the connection to the platform, right? It's not the other way around. So all the handshake and stuff starts from the agent, and therefore there is not really a lot of like NAT. I mean, there's the normal NAT, which happens like every time when you in your environment do a web request, for example, but it's nothing special. So there was no need for us to specifically handle it because the client, in that case, the agent, initiates the connection and not the other way around. And once the tunnel is there, it's a bidirectional connection. So yeah.
Can we talk just for a moment about pricing and whether or not Hub is a free service and what it might look like in the future?
So the current set you saw, like Traefik Hub starts with a freemium model, and what you just saw today will always be for free. That's nothing to change, because we believe, as I said at the beginning, that developers should have an easier option to expose their services and publish their services rather than going all over the place. So what you saw today will remain free. However, we are evaluating certain additional features where additional features will come or will potentially come at a price, meaning that we will probably have multiple tiers and there will be a paying tier at one point for a given set of features. However, as I said, what you saw today will remain free.
Can you talk about whether or not we can stop using Traefik Proxy in order to only use Hub?
That's a fun question. Like you could, whoever asked that question, you could see Traefik Hub is kind of an evolution of Traefik Proxy, right? Like, as I said in the intro, Traefik Proxy is doing a perfect job in just like taking the requests and being the reverse proxy. But there is a network part linked to it, as I said, with like DNS and all of that. And the idea of Traefik Hub is that Traefik Hub takes away the networking hardness, let's say, the networking complicatedness. And Traefik proxy takes care of the reverse proxying on a given cluster. Meaning, architectural wise, Traefik proxy will always have a place because Traefik proxy will be the reverse proxy that actually does things. However, if you want to manage the publication of your services on the edge easy and like quickly, as you just saw, then you're going to use Traefik Hub. However, by using Traefik Hub, you also use Traefik proxy. It's just you don't notice it because we manage it for you, right? But there's still a proxy.
Can Hub be deployed on-prem or hosted in their own infrastructure?
No, like yes and no. The let's say the cluster and ingress part and stuff, that is like on your cluster, right? But the platform, the control, let's say the UI, that is in the cloud, and that will probably stay in the cloud because by the way we architectured it, porting that to non-cloud native environments, let's say local environments, on-prem environments, whatever, would actually be quite complicated. So the control will probably stay in the cloud. However, that doesn't mean that compute, like the network compute and the gateways, will need to stay in the cloud. We are evaluating if we allow like a way to not have all the traffic going through it. But this is a process of finding out. And as I said, the feedback bar is a good place for that. Please give us all your feedback so we can do the hopefully right decisions.
I have a couple of questions about the dynamic URL that's created when the service is published. And I think that they can be boiled down to, is there a way that a unique subdomain can be reserved so the same name is created if the service is recreated in the future?
Not as of now, but it's a fun request. Like the way we see the unique DNS names is like that they are for like cases where you not necessarily require a given set of domain names, right? Because like eventually you will be able to add your own customer or your own custom domains to the services. However, thinking about it, maybe it's a fun idea to add the option to like reserve names. They're like, yeah, there's no possibility as of now, but let's see how often the feature will be requested. I'm open to it.
Awesome. So is Hub only for HTTP requests, or will it support proxying TCP, MySQL, etc.?
So as of now, it's HTTP only, or actually HTTPS to be more precise, but that's okay. But it's a bit, I sadly have to do a bit of the same answer. We would love to add support for TCP and UDP support. And I personally would love UDP because I can imagine some fun cases like running Minecraft servers on a Raspberry Pi and proxying them through Traefik Hub, for example. But there is some added complexity, and we are evaluating how and if we can do it.
Awesome. So let's talk about scale. What type of scale can Traefik Hub handle? Hundreds of containers, thousands, millions?
Good question. We are super early in the process, right? So we did test with I think it was 150 containers per workspace, so per account, and I don't know, it was a high number of accounts, and we actually were okay. But this were our bench environments, right? Like benchmarks we did run. We obviously have to learn while people use it, and given the amount of users we already have, we already learned quite a lot. So we improved certain areas already to make it scale better. But it's a journey we will have to go through.
Can the original request be logged as it arrived? Is that accessible?
I'm not sure I understood the question. I'm sorry.
When we talk about logging,
yes.
Do we have accessible logging so that we can see original requests as they arrive?
Like an access log, let's say. We currently have it on like the The part on the cluster knows about the access log, yes. So you could just check the logs. However, we are not displaying them yet in the UI, but this is on our roadmap to be added.
Then I have a couple of questions that are maybe troubleshooting type questions. So let us know if we can't quite access them. But Mr. Negative says that when I use Portainer and paste the Docker compose of Traefik into the stacks of Portainer, the Traefik Hub doesn't detect the common network with the service.
Oh, can you repeat? That was a long question.
Absolutely. When I use Portainer, and it might make sense for me to, I'm also going to copy and paste it in message so that everybody can read along. When I use Portainer and paste the Docker compose of Traefik into the stacks of Portainer, the Traefik Hub doesn't detect the common network with the service.
Oh, that's fun. That's something we did not have yet. Whoever is the user, if you, I would appreciate if that's possible, that you report this as a bug through the feedback button on the webpage, because maybe and maybe provide your Docker compose with us, because then it's a bit easier to troubleshoot with engineering. But if you do it, then I'm happily taking it together with engineering, and let's figure out what's the issue, because that's a bug I personally did not have yet.
While I pull up the other question that was a little bit troubleshooty, I'd like to ask you about if we're already using proxy. So you answered whether we needed proxy at all anymore, but if we're already using proxy, how do we want to integrate Traefik Hub? For example, if they had a Traefik stack on Portainer and Docker Swarm.
Yeah, it's a bit of the same answer, right? With the current way of how Traefik Hub works, which is by providing the tunnel and stuff, we focused on providing a slick user experience, to making it as simple as possible to publish services. And that, I think we did really good, because it's really easy to publish the services. Talking about existing service publication, we are, I think, in my opinion, merely talking about converting services to Traefik Hub, let's say. And that is an area we know that we have to work on that. And I just discussed with the team around it this morning, to be honest. So we are trying to figure out how to do it nicely, because what we don't want to do is, whatever we do, simplicity is part of our DNA, right? So we want to make as simple solutions as we somehow can. So once we have found a simple solution, we will add it so that existing Traefik stacks, let's say, can take full leverage of Hub as well. And this topic in general is added on our roadmap, and we will for sure work about it, on it, not about it, sorry. But I can't really tell yet how, because we're in the process of figuring out the how.
Awesome. So can Hub point HTTP requests to the cluster if it's exposed to the internet directly by bypassing the proxy?
It's a bit of the same, like 2 questions before. Currently, we have the tunnel. Currently, to make it relatively simple, no. Currently, you can only go through the tunnel. And it's a bit of the same answer, because we did that for user experience reasons. However, if people, or if our user base, let's say, wants to have like this possibility, let's figure it out together. I mean, we want to build a product that our community likes. And yeah, so give us feedback, then we can do the right decisions.
Can Hub be used to load balance between services across multiple clusters?
How do I answer that? Technically, yes. Technically, we have a few, like, yes and no, to be more precise. Yes, we had a working version of that, but no, it's not shipped yet. And it's not shipped because of the UX reasons I mentioned. we have a lot of ideas in regards to multi-cluster. And for example, did proxying requests to different clusters from the same entry point and stuff makes totally sense. I totally see the use case. It's just not so simple. And we are trying to figure out how we can make it simple so that everyone can use
it. Okay. Are there bandwidth restrictions using Hub for video streaming or presentations and games?
Yes, there is. On the free tier, on the freemium tier, you currently have 1 gigabyte of bandwidth, which is not so much for video streaming and gaming. But the freemium tier is meant for like a non-production wise environments in order to test it out. Therefore, there's a bandwidth requirement. Yeah, and that might be the point or this might be one of the points at which we might think about putting up higher limits in case you pay. But yeah, we don't know yet. For now, the limit is 1 gigabyte.
Okay. Nicholas is currently using Traefik in a Nomad cluster thanks to the new integration. Can Hub benefit him in that setup as well?
Oh, you guys are smart. You guys are really smart. Sadly, I cannot really answer to that. Or well, I actually can. The answer is for now, no, because the integration, as you know, was just announced 4 weeks ago. So it's really not that long. And together with HashiCorp, as you probably all saw, we brought the integration first into Traefik Proxy, but yeah. Like to be honest, we are evaluating if there is already enough Nomad users using that option, because my personal opinion is that I think it would be quite appealing for Traefik Hub to just connect to Nomad, get the services out of Nomad, and publish them and expose them straight to the edge. So not now, but let's say I personally would really like it to happen.
Sounds like this is something that should be turned into an issue, and then we should maybe have all the Nomad users vote on it.
Maybe, yes. and I would vote personally on it as well, because yeah, I'm in the process of redoing my home lab and I'm evaluating to do it with Nomad. So I would like that quite a lot.
So I just wanted to follow up. Jesse answered this, but I'd like to hear your opinion as well. Can we CNAME for now?
He probably means custom domains, I think. And that I answered a couple of minutes ago, so not now, but we are in active development of that. So soon, yes, just not now.
When can we expect Traefik Hub to launch full-fledged with all its documentation?
So the documentation is currently being worked on, and it should be released. It should be released relatively soonish. I sadly have to stay vague because I didn't check in with the team yet, but I know that there are like writing documentation right now, so it should be it should be available soon, I think.
Does Hub proxy WebSockets?
Yes, my voting app, as you saw, it uses WebSockets to publish the voting count through the users. So yes, it does proxy WebSockets. And
I guess final question: do we get remote IP in the request headers?
Not yet, but same answer, it's on our roadmap. And I hate to say that so often, but I mean, it's like, it's an early product. We're just an open beta, right? And I can personally think about 1,000 things I want to do with that product, but it's just, yeah, it's a question of time.
So I'd like to thank everybody for coming. We're really excited, and we're thrilled that y'all are excited as well. I'd like to announce the favorite color of this group is green by a landslide, by a few clicks more than we had people. If you'd like to hear more about Traefik Hub, if you have questions about Traefik Hub, please feel free to go to the community forum at community.traefik.io. We have an entire section for Traefik Hub, and we have people there helping out, as well as, of course, users helping users. In fact, we also have sections for Traefik, Mesh, Pilot, and Yagi. Should you have any questions, please feel free to join us on the community forum. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. Oh, we missed the Traefik Slack too, but in the end, it was so big that we weren't able to effectively answer questions. So the forum at least means that we can have several people answering questions as well as community members being to connect. And the questions are persistent, so you might not have to wait for an answer. You might be able to just search your question. We will see you at our next event where we'll be talking about the new plugin catalog and about Traefik Hub. So if you would like to join us there, please keep an eye out. We'll be releasing that information soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.